Robin is a dentist who also teaches meditation. She uses meditation techniques to help people move through their personal paths of spiritual development. And while meditation has been super helpful in many areas of her life throughout the years, the one area she had still felt out of control with was with her weight and relationship to food. So last summer, she finally took steps to integrate that last part of her and when she joined our Badass Body Boss program. I'm so excited to have her on the show and share her story. In this episode, you'll learn about her story with food, how her mindset has shifted around that, how meditation has helped her notice and integrate the aspects of herself in all areas of her life. And she even shares a short meditation with us halfway through. So enjoy. All right. Hi, Robin. I'm so glad to talk to you today.
Hi, Lucy. Good morning. It's great to talk to you.
Yay. Yeah. So, would you like to just kind of give a very just short little blurb about who you are and how we met?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm Robin Goldberg. I'm the dentist who teaches meditation. That's my little tagline because my day job is that I'm a dentist, and my other important thing that I do is I teach meditation, not necessarily in a dental space, but maybe someday. But I teach meditation with. I have pictures. I don't know if you can see these people. There we go.
I see two people.
Two people. That's my teachers, Paran and Susanna Bear. And they write the books and create the style of the meditation that I practice. And they also, through their website, they have mentoring and coaching, which I do with them. So, using meditation to help people move through the path of spiritual development, adult development. So that's my other thing. So we met because I've been meditating for about 10 years. And even though meditation is super helpful in many, many areas of my life, the one area that was left was that at various stages of my life, I would gain a lot of weight and feel very out of control and like, why is this happening? And it's not necessarily that I'm sad or that something needs to change, but it's definitely a reaction to stress. And I heard about Badass Body Boss. From a YouTube video. I looked up, I got an Lumen finally. I thought, well, if I can keep my body in ketosis, then I can eat as much as I want, whenever I want, and not be as big as I am. And I looked up all the people who thought Lumen was the greatest thing in the world after I bought one, unfortunately. I did send it back, actually. And Rich had just laid it out so logically. Like, it doesn't matter if the percentage of fat burning is higher. What matters is the overall amount of fat burning. I'm like, oh.
Yes.
And yeah, that was enough to, without a lot of research, I had like my introductory phone call and signed on. And last night I was at dinner, and we had a new friend over, and there was all this wonderful food on the table, and I just put it all on my plate, casually took a picture, and like went on with my meal. And later, when I was in the bathroom checking my phone, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm on track.
Awesome. Yes. And it's been such a pleasure too, Robin, having you in the program. So this is our Badass Body Boss program. So this is our flagship. It's a weight loss program, but really recently I've been trying to. It's more of like a teaching you how to fish, how to like learn about like your brain and body when it comes to losing weight sustainably. And one of the things I loved about you, Robin, is that you took a lot of the mindset concepts that we taught in Badass Body Boss, and you like put like your own spin on it, and you come up with so many like clever analogies, I would say, for like the same concepts. I'm like, dude, this girl, she's really into this mindset stuff. And I think the second part is that you were kind of mentioning is that me and Rich is my business partner, we're both very just like tell it as it is. Like we don't try to make things more complicated than it is, but we like to think of ourselves as like your reality coaches. It's like we tell you like, well, yes, people say this, but like zoom out and look at it logically, right? Like maybe when you're doing a certain thing, you burn more fat than carbs, but like over the course of a day, how much are you actually burning? Like a lot of times, like our bodies don't respond in just like pockets of, of activity. And I like you've always like just responded like just really well to all of that, and it's so I think Robin, like you're like this really great like yin yang mix of like logical thinking, but also like the kind of like emotional depth. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that very much so.
Yeah, so it's like perfect for yeah, for our program. I'm very curious. So like would you like to talk a little bit about like your weight loss journey so far? I know you've done like a lot of actually I don't really know your background prior to Badass Body Boss, but I know you've tried a few things. And then like what was different, I guess, after
Yeah.
you joined?
So I'm thinking, I never have tried to put this to boil it down. And when I did my intake call, that
Mhm.
lasted 2.5 hours. So so I got to think of a shorter way of telling y'all. No, but
Oh my god, 2 hours. Wow. I can actually let me no.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
a different
I'm not so
question.
surprised actually. It's very easy to talk to you. Like our conversations can go on for like 3 hours if we're not careful.
No, but that's how much history I have with my body.
Mhm.
I would say that I would say that you know I would say that I was a little kid who loved to eat and loved to eat with abandon. So I I do have dear friends who hate eating. You know what I mean? Like they don't like chewing, they don't like feeling full, they don't like swallowing, they don't like stopping what they're doing. But that was just not the little kid I was born. I was born to like, I want to move through the world with, some carbs under my, packed under like over here and just kind of like move out into life and do the thing, but like have the comfort of the food as I go. So I think my mom started me on carnation instant breakfast instead of a breakfast
Uh-huh.
before puberty, like pretty young, you
Hmm.
know? So like the sexism of like women having to make sure that their daughters are going to be pleasing looking and be pretty and fit into society. Like that was, I mean, I was born in 1962, so that was like very strong in our neighborhood. Not all neighborhoods, but in our neighborhood, that was very strong about, how we all going to look, and so, so I had this like, yeah, I'm gonna go live. Yeah, I'm gonna go eat. Yeah, I'm enjoying just the sensuality of the experience, and also the there's something wrong with you, you're too eager, phrases like you eating like it's the end of the world.
Mm. Are those phrases people told you?
That was what my mom and dad would say to me, like as a
Yeah.
like that was like instead of the dentist who teaches meditation, I was the girl who ate like it's the it's like your last meal on earth, they would say, and they would say it with a lot of love and smiling.
Mhm.
But given my cultural background and my adult way of looking at it, I'm thinking to myself, oh, this started way before me. Like this is like historical trauma passed through. You know what I mean? Because like, why would you say your last meal on earth if you didn't come from a tradition of people that had to deal with starving?
Mhm. Yeah, the words we say are very indicative of our underlying beliefs. Um, I've noticed. Yeah.
And the other way they would say it is, she's eating like there's no tomorrow. So, so then, I'm a smart human. So the next thing was to like try every different kind of diet. I like exploring and thinking, well, maybe this is going to be it and that's going to be it. So I could give you the whole list of, I jokingly have a pin from Weight Watchers because I was married to a medical doctor at the time, and I had him write me a note that my maintenance weight was going to be 10 pounds higher than they have a little, like, if you get to this weight, you can have a pin, and then your meetings are for free. So
Ooh. Ooh, okay.
pin after many years and
Uh,
long struggles of the weigh in, up and down, having no idea about body fat. Like, we're
yeah.
pretty muscular humans. So I
You
got my first husband to write me a medical doctor note that
yeah.
but I still felt like I hadn't done it right, but that it was going to be 10 pounds higher than their highest thing. It's like, unless by a doctor. I'm like, I know a doctor. And he wrote the note, and I got the pin, and I was like, it was a stupid little metal thing. And I was like, this is the most expensive piece of jewelry I will ever own.
Oh my goodness. So you've always been like really a free spirit, I feel, right?
Oh, yeah. Completely.
Yeah.
Completely. And I actually had a lot of support with that with my parents. We kind of, we had that. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever read the book Cheaper by the Dozen. Like,
Oh,
I'm the oldest of four. There was just
yeah.
this big, noisy family where there's a lot of room to be who you are, and like a lot of kind of kidding and nudging. But like, the words might be horrible, but like the atmosphere was wonderful, and it was
Yeah.
just kind of
Aw.
and it. I know because I'm a mom of a 25-year-old, and I was like super careful, like
Mhm.
every word that came out of my mouth. Now, he may not remember it that way, but from my perspective, I like really worked hard to like what is my impulse at this moment. And but anyway, so weight's just been a thing for me. And there've been I've had like 4 or 5 years where things were doing pretty all right, and I would say my weight, and people would be like, you don't look that big, like.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it goes right back to like, the real girls are like little sticks, or the real girls have nice handwriting, or the real,
Mhm.
like, it doesn't take much to
Right.
make you feel like you're not living up to whatever the
Yeah.
whatever it is you're supposed to be.
If
So
that's all like most of what you're seeing, right, when you're like looking out at the media or TV or news or whatever, and now internet, right? It's like it makes you think that's the norm.
right,
Even
right,
though in
right.
your day to day you see people with normal bodies, but it's like it's so weird how like the messages kind of get played in your brain differently.
What I like about this program, Badass Body Boss, is that when I I've been married how many? Three and a half years. I've been married 3.5 years. I was very lucky with the pandemic, to my second husband, and he loves television. And after a long day of work, we would sit down, we'd watch a half an hour of TV, and in the beginning, it kind of got me down, never seeing anyone who looked like me on television. I'm like, the women
Hmm.
were so beautiful and so young. Like, compared to me, a lot of people are young, but like it was just like, oh. And like, I'd enjoy watching the TV and talking about like what the director decided to do, and it would lead to wonderful discussions. And they have this thing where if two people are breathing together, watching the same thing, that you could hook up electrodes to their head, and what's going on in their head is very similar. So it was like a very lovely
Huh.
bonding experience. But I could feel that edge of like, oh, like, oh, like. And since I've been
Yeah.
doing Badass Body Boss, that's all gone away. Like
Yeah.
I can look at women on TV and like understand, like, oh, this is a thing you can do if you make trade-offs, and that's certain percent body fat, and that's like, person is only doing it for the role. She's going to go, it's only part-time. I mean, it's just, and it doesn't even really phase me anymore. Like, no matter like how beautiful anyone on TV is,
Yes.
but I have much more of a sense of like what I want my body to look like. You know what I mean?
Yes. I'm so
So,
glad to hear that, Robin.
mm,
I think like one of the reasons I like to call ourselves reality coaches is that is one of the things of like not just the reality. It's like the reality. There's like two realities: the reality of how your body works and what do you really want. I think we challenge people so much. It's like, well, what do you really want? Like, because a lot of times people come into the program and they're like, I want to get super ripped or whatever, and then we give them like, here's the trade-offs, and oh, and you know, is this what you want? Like, what is the ultimate, like, what is the life that you envision when you get this body type, and can you get this life even without it? You know, it's like there's really a lot of challenging of kind of assumptions here. And I know because both at least me personally, I've gone to the really low body fat ranges. Like I got the 6-pack before. It sucked. I got it. I took myself a selfie, and then I was like, no, I can't keep doing this. It was, and then I became friends with a lot of coaches and bodybuilders, and they all across the board was like, yeah, we only look like that twice a year. And then we like, you know, that's for our show or for, you know, for a competition. And then we're back to like, you know, just, you know, fluffy, it's like fluffy belly. Right. So I think the second reality is like the reality of everybody else, right? It's like what you see on TV and Instagram and whatever, like they have to train so hard to get there, and then they don't maintain it for the rest of their lives.
Well, I mean, that's I will say one of the things I'm super grateful about is for the time that I was born into, like, you know, worse on sexism, but way better on looksism. Like I didn't grow up with Instagram models. I didn't grow up with porn on the computer. I didn't grow up with a computer. Like, so
Yeah. Gasp. Yeah.
there was a Brady Bunch, you know, and Susan Day on, what were those cops, whatever. So, but you know what I mean? Like we had some beautiful women on TV who were, it was closer to the Twiggy era. So skinny and boyish looking and really like flat everything, like super, super skinny was a thing. But there, you know, the percentage of media to reality was entirely different.
Yes. Yeah, the just the sheer amount of like volume of pictures is like a lot less. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then there were fashion models who came out. Like this is like right before cell phones. Like I feel like when cell phones happened, it was like, okay, genie out of the bottle. We're now living in like a hybrid universe that's
Yeah.
like partially regular and partially like the matrix. Okay.
Yeah. I like to think like when cell phones came out, we all just became cyborgs basically. We functionally became cyborgs. Like our brain is part phone.
Right. And I couldn't wait for that because like
Yeah.
a lot of things I'm not good at is remembering like to show up a place on time. And like now I've been calling this my portable brain for
Yes.
a long
Portable brain.
and if I'm not where I'm supposed to be, somebody can like push the button and call me like, where the hell are you, darling?
Yeah, or help find direction. Like I did have a part of my life where I was using paper maps, but I remember just being really bad at those.
You know, it's a skill and you
Yeah.
practice and you learn, but
Yeah.
you know, so there's paper maps, and then there was the intermediate phase of MapQuest. I remember trying to get to a
Yes.
vegetarian restaurant a couple of towns over from where I was living, and I printed out. No one wanted to go with me, so it's like I waited till everyone else was out of the house. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
going to Sweet Potato or wherever, and I get to the MapQuest and I print out how to get there, and I have papers with directions on them, like
Yeah.
it's like the Stone Age or something. I'm driving in the car, and I make a wrong turn, and I'm done. I have to
Yeah.
turn around and go.
Yeah. It's like now what?
Tell you what to do if you screw it up.
Yes. So yes, technology, yes, a lot, very, very helpful, and yeah,
Nothing.
but also like can distort reality. I think like that's the.
Right,
So
because
it's like you got to manage it. Yeah.
right, because back at that time, before smartphones were like totally ubiquitous, there were women who had been in fashion magazines who would talk about their body image problems on like radio shows and
Yeah.
say, like, I get crazy looking at billboards of myself because I've been photoshopped.
Oh,
I don't even
interesting.
look like that.
Yes.
And it's sort of like, even though, so like it was a little easier to have some different percentage of reality back then, I think, because we weren't so saturated in the images. So the idea of like a
Yeah.
woman with six-pack abs, like still makes me giggle, guys.
What's going on in your mind that's like triggering the giggles?
Because like it was a scientific fact that wasn't going to happen to women, like when I was growing up, that was like not a thing. Like,
yeah.
obviously it's not a scientific fact. Plenty of people do it. But
Yeah.
like you say, it's twice a year they do it, right? Or maybe some women are probably walking around with six pack abs. I don't know. But
Yeah. And the younger you are, the more you're able to like be in that zone, right? And
right.
yeah, but
But your point of that for many, many people that give the impression of living there, a
mhm.
lot of that is smoke and mirrors.
Yes,
Because
it's not like they're 80% of the time, like their lives, right? Yeah. I
yeah,
think that's the point. You can get there. And some people can maintain for a while, but those are the people who are like pro athletes. Like this is what they do. That is not like the rest of us.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is what they do for a living. I
Yes.
mean, yeah. So anyway, so it's I feel quaint. I feel
Yeah.
quaint, and
Quaint.
I should have a little hat with a bow under my chin. Like in my day, the idea of a woman with six pack abs, just we didn't.
We
I mean,
didn't
we don't even know men with six pack abs. Like remember
I
the
guess
old.
there weren't a lot of shirtless pictures that were everywhere back when your days, huh?
No, I didn't. Like my favorite exercise influencer
Yeah.
now in the beginning of every podcast, he and his buddy get on and they're like, shirt check, and they pull up their
Oh
shirt
my
and you
goodness.
could have an anatomy lesson, and then they put their shirts back down and start talking. So I'm glad we're not doing that today.
That's so funny. Oh my god, that's definitely a way to like make the intro really exciting. Maybe an idea. I'll table that for the future. Yeah, viewers, listeners, let me know if you're interested in shirt check on on this podcast. No, sorry. Back. I'm curious though, Robin. Like, I think you talked about it. I remember one time you also said in our program, in our forums, we have like this, a forum inside. You said something like, now when you think back to when you used to think about food, and I remember you were like, when you entered, you were like really panicky about like feeling hungry and all of that, going back to the whole like, you know, Robin is like, the message is like, oh, Robin feels like eats like she's the end of the world or something like
Yeah,
that. And it's
work
like always
tomorrow.
like thinking like you're starving, I guess is kind of the sense that I got, right? And you had mentioned something like a few months ago or a few weeks or months ago that looking back at your old mindset, you feel like you're looking at a different person. It's like you're watching Netflix and there's still a character playing rather than thinking that's identifying with that person.
Yeah,
Well, that's how did do you can you are you able to like speak to how you think that shift happened for you?
I think
Did you even
that
notice it happening? Like,
it was
yeah.
like I noticed it after it happened. Actually,
Yeah.
on Tuesday, I went to my personal. I have a personal training at 9:30 on Tuesdays, and then
Mhm.
I do cranial sacral. I get on the table for a cranial sacral session at 10:45, which is a great combination. And usually, I'll pack some like portable protein. Like usually, I don't have enough time to like get up and get to the thing on time or eat before I go. So I'll have like uh, portable protein to do before the session on my walk as I'm walking. So like, still the same girl as I'm walking down the street to my personal training session. And
Yeah.
then I have one for afterwards so I don't get hungry while I'm on the table. And last Tuesday, I because I'm having better sleep and I'm having better habits. And I'm like, in meditation, we call this having a better rhythm to your life. My life has a
Mm.
better rhythm.
Yeah.
So I had a little breakfast that I knew would be sufficient, that I wasn't going to tire out in the middle of my session, as if
Yeah.
that ever happened, but it's never, any excuse will do. Um, and then, so I had my breakfast and I walked out and I got to my craniosacral appointment and I'm like, Ellen, there's no protein in any of my pockets. There's I didn't bring it with me before the session or after the session or after your session. Usually there's the third one for like walking home from craniosacral. Like how I managed to stay in my calorie target with that kind of mindset, I don't know. But like I had it with me at all times. So in
Yeah.
case hunger would come and ambush me. And I said, Ellen, I have no food in my pocket. There's no food. I have one of these coats with like these pockets and these pockets and the zipper over here. And like sometimes I'll look in there and I'm like, huh, I could have eaten that. Like, what's it doing still in there? Little emergency pocket? Like, why is the emergency food not eaten? I don't understand.
That's so funny. You have like these emergency food pockets in your jacket. That's so funny. It's like I have this visual of like, you know, like in those cartoons, like the shady people like dealing like, hey, you want to buy a
Watches, what about watch?
yeah, it's like, hey, a protein bar. That's so funny.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I noticed, like, oh, that's unusual for me. Like, that's a good
Yeah.
sign. That's a really good sign. So like now I'm like more like I'm still probably carrying them with me through if I have a long, a day, like a long day, which I like to
Yeah.
have. But like they're not getting eaten as often. They're just sort of like
Yeah.
my lucky rabbit's foot protein bar.
Yes. Well, I love that on the Friday Q&A call you came on, you were saying like you basically was intuitive eating.
More or less.
And
Yeah.
yeah, that's really really cool. And that one of the things that you did was like you deliberately decided at a certain point to slow down your weight loss.
Yeah.
And what's really fascinating is that when that happens, your your body is actually more likely to adapt to those habits that you're building, because it becomes a like when you're making huge changes, the body is kind of like trying to struggle against it. But when you're making smaller changes, it feels like easier, and then your body is able to it gives it more space to actually turn those into habits. When you
Yeah.
accept something that it allows you to be more consistent, I think is a better way of saying that, and then the compound effects rolls in.
Yeah. I think that the whole program is structured. I don't have a picture of it, but you guys have a habit difficulty scale where
Yeah.
from 10 and 0 at the bottom, and that moving from a habit that's like 7 difficulty to a 6
Yeah.
could take a year and
Yes.
be you have to focus every bit of your willpower.
Yeah.
It's almost like I feel like I'm programming a computer on some level. Like,
Yes. It really we are programs. Like, yeah, even our beliefs, they're just programs programmed by like past events. Yeah.
yeah, instead of randomly being programmed, you could
Yes.
choose by your actions what you want the program to look like. Because like
Yeah.
I think I have a lot of big ideas. My brain's very like interesting up there. Like I was sort of always had the sense, especially before meditation, that I could just if something seemed like a good idea, I could just think it and then I should be able to do it.
Yes. This is a very
Um,
common, yeah, thing to think.
and maybe like for the folks that join Badass Body Boss and say, I want to see my six pack, like it's an idea that just popped in their head
Yeah.
and they believe that I should be doing this because it seems all I have to do is eat less and exercise more and let's just do it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, so I mean, I've actually developed meditations because when I was in meditation school, like in the beginning, I had a friend who's like, how do you have so many ideas? Like, what practices are you doing to give yourself the ideas? And I'm like, oh no, darling, this is my life. This is what goes on in my head all the time. I do practices to stop having so many ideas.
Oh my god, that's so Uh, that's really funny because I recently was talking to someone and I said like something about like the chaos in my head or something like that was the way I viewed it. I'm like, yes, I have a lot of chaos in my head,
Yeah.
and then every once in a while like jewels pop up, but a lot of times it's chaos.
Well, okay, so I'll
Yeah.
get technical. Okay, so
Yes.
there's part of me that always loves like to be didactic. So in this book, which was my teacher's first major book, Living from the Heart,
Living
you
from the
see,
heart. Hmm.
you see, it's got fire type people and air type people, water type people, and earth type people, and that as we go through life, we get to explore all these different sides of ourselves, but there is always going to be like especially like if you don't tend the garden, what weeds are going to come back like
Yeah.
like for me, like the, the air aspect, if I don't tend the garden through meditation, there's just going to be a lot of ideas floating
Mhm.
through like up
Yeah.
here, and there are other people who are different. You know what I mean? Like my fire friends, if they don't tend the garden and all they get is like kind of how they were born, like
Yes.
all the things that are not right and like need to be destroyed. Like
Robin, can you briefly describe the four types of people?
I've got, yeah. So
Oh,
like my
okay.
fire friends who don't tend their garden, because like as you learn to tend your garden and you learn to gather all the different, it's sort of like when I was really into native plants for a while. Everything, everything had to be like it could have grown there. It could have grown there. So if as you plant more, as you meditate more, you plant more native plants of all four of these, so you have a more balanced life, and your head isn't running away with you with the wild, interesting thoughts. It's fun to watch. Don't get me wrong, but and just like the fire people love truth, they
Mm,
love truth. It has to be their ideal. They have a lot of courage, these people. They'll put their lives on the line, like just in a heartbeat. And, off they go. And if they don't tend their garden, the weeds that grow will be impulses that tell them like, you know, do the thing, and they don't, and they love being around air people because the air people can give them more perspective. Like, yes, it's true what you're seeing and it's bad. They shouldn't have done that. But if you look at it this way, and then if you look at it that way, and it kind of soothes the fire. And then the air people enjoy the fire people because it warms us up a little bit and gives us something to focus on. So like,
mm.
oh yeah, like I should take a step forward. Like just having thoughts in my head, like there could be more to life.
Yeah.
And then these two sort of like home base types, water is just gives life, brings healing, um, beauty into the world,
Mm,
and earth brings the solidity, the solidness, the manifestation into life. It brings the structure. Something that my son is, his natural tendency is the earth type.
mm.
So he's always thinking about like, okay, you had a great idea, but how are we going to make it a reality? Like,
Yes.
how are we going to make it self-sustaining? Like, how are we going to let it have some structure so it can stand on its own? And of course, all of us need all of these qualities, but it takes a lot. But
Yeah.
just a typical everyday heart rhythm meditation practice. I can't speak for other meditation practices, but for heart rhythm meditation, we prioritize practices that are going to help everybody experience all four of these.
Wow. That's very, very interesting. So how does actually I'm very curious, Robin, how are um what are those four different parts like how much do you have of each of those in yours? Like I don't know if you've like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
how much of each of those do you have
So,
naturally?
so I was giggling when you were talking about like your little brief description of me because the air type for me, it's not analytical for everyone. There's
Mhm.
different representations of the air type. There's the more outer focused and the more inner focused. So the outer focused air is very analytical,
Mm.
wants to know reality, doesn't really want to do anything about it.
Doesn't want to do it.
I just want to study it. I'm going to
Yes.
study it. Like my son, when he was little, looked up and said, Mommy, am I just your big science experiment? And I'm like, we're thinking about there's a lot more to it than that, darling, but that's a good perspective to keep in mind. And that's before I knew about any of this. So so there's a lot of me that's got that air quality.
Mhm.
But when I was born into my family, very often, so we have our inner soul quality, and then we have the quality that faces the world.
Mhm.
And like my parents being like who they are, who they were, it was super important that all the kids be social,
Mm.
that we learn how to play with other kids. Like, no matter how smart you are, you have to learn to hang out and be liked and
Mm.
to liking others wasn't like a big struggle. So, like, I, the first thing when I got to the earth was how can I develop this water side of me that's going to
Yeah.
make connections between people?
Yes.
So that's my emotional side and my like analytical side coming together is that it was just I was the sister. Like sometimes they didn't even use my name. They just like my nickname was sister, like to the
Oh.
sister.
sister will help you. And there was all these babies around when I was little. I had 3 younger brothers, and it was like so delicious to smell their hair and help them put their shoes on. Sister will help you put your shoes on. And I'm like,
Oh,
oh, role cognizance. Like, I feel really good doing this. So yeah, so like by nature, I believe air is kind of primary, and by socialization, I really got drenched in the water, which is a pretty unusual combination, frankly, to walk around with. So that's sort of, and I do the other ones, as needed.
yes.
But like water is a huge aspect of my personality. So yeah.
Awesome. And I think that's really cool that you you do a lot, you like think about, you do a lot of introspection, it seems like with this, so like you really get to know yourself a little bit, and I think that's something that's super important when you're navigating like your way through life, is to like know the parts of you, and I feel like it's always a discovery process, because I'm still finding new things about myself that I didn't know. um and then when you do that, I think like, one of the things we talked about earlier, it's like knowing what you like what do you really want, like, we were talking about body goals and how people come in thinking, I want that six pack abs because I see other people have it, and that's what fit means, like, and that's the belief there. But then it's like, okay, but then if you think about who you are as a person, what you typically, enjoy doing, and then compare it to like the trade-offs of like what this ideal life, quote, ideal life looks like. Does it mesh? Does it resonate? And then I think the other thing that um that came through to me when you were talking is just that accepting the parts of yourself that you have, that you're very, natural at, and then like there's the parts of yourself that, like, because you were talking about how you're very strong, you naturally develop like these two parts of yourself, and then these other two, you'll do them when you need them, right? It's like, I'll cultivate them as I need them, but you're not beating yourself up like, I'm not embodying all four elements, I'm a flawed human. Like, there's not, I didn't get a sense of that, and I find that to be very beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm curious, Robin, what is this heart rhythm meditation? Because you mentioned that was very helpful and kind of, yeah.
That's the kind of meditation I do. Actually, I
Yes.
think if you
Tell me
want
more.
like do you want a little sample? Want to just do
Yes,
some?
absolutely. That'd be great.
All right. Give me like a time, like how long do you think people would be interested? Like, you want like a
Um,
10-minute, a 5-minute?
let's do a 5-minute one. And
Yeah.
before we get started, can you just briefly describe like what is the purpose of this meditation, and like,
Yes, I'll give an
yeah,
overview.
yeah, an overview. Yes.
The overview. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what's interesting is that in the last 15 years, I've gotten to watch people, meditation has become like a real thing.
Yes.
It's wonderful that we've, culturally moved through this shift. And, there have been little blips on the radar in the US with meditation becoming more interesting and then kind of going out of fashion. But we're riding this huge wave right now, which is really exciting. So
Yes.
I'm laughing because like I love this book, but like the first 3 pages are read all the wonderful things meditation can do for you. Like,
Okay.
it'll shine your shoes. Like, like if you have a regular meditation practice, you're gonna like life is gonna be so much better. Your blood pressure will go down. You'll find the partner of your dreams. Your shoes will be shiny. I mean, it's like, and
Yeah.
I'm joking about it because when I first read it, I was like, oh my God, like, do you really have to give the sales pitch? I was almost like offended. Like, I am reading this because I choose to read this. Like, don't
Yes.
try to like entice me with like all these things. But honestly, most people need to be like cheered up. Like, yes, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be, you're going to put some effort in. It's a trade-off. You'll put your
Yep.
time and effort in. Maybe you'll like take a class. You'll spend a little money. You'll show up on Tuesday nights to my meditation class, like, and
Yeah.
you'll get something out of it. Like, and these are the things, like, any of those things look good to you? Like, here,
Yes.
pick them.
Yeah.
But
There's a
again,
reason they
we're
put
like,
that in the intro, right? They want to
right,
say, like, what do
right.
you say? Pump people up. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to get them pumped up. So
Yeah.
I started to understand that better later. But at the time I was like, really? Like, yeah. So The difference between heart rhythm meditation and most of the stereotypes that we have about meditation and most of the meditations that are like mindfulness based
Like,
stress
yeah, focus on
reduction,
your breath, that kind
all
of
that kind
stuff.
of stuff,
Yeah.
is that a lot of the meditation that we know about in the US is from like some watered down version of like a Buddhist framework, which is a beautiful framework, but wouldn't have just like never worked for me when I would like see a little clip, here, try this. It was not engaging enough. Whereas heart rhythm meditation is from a lineage, from a heritage that comes out of the Sufi tradition, and it's got a lot of other things, developed by my teachers at this point that you couldn't really say it is Sufi tradition, but you could say that that's where the roots are. And the way they talk about it is there's upward meditation and there's downward meditation.
Hmm.
And Buddhism wants you to escape the wheel of becoming. You want to escape. You want to have a little break. You want to have a breakation from your life, a
Ooh,
break
yeah.
and a vacation,
Breakcation.
because life
Yes.
is hard. So we're just gonna head up, like just disassociate, non-attachment, right? You want to non-attach from your concerns, and that's nothing to do with heart rhythm meditation. Um, Heart rhythm meditation is a school of attachment. You sort of
Hmm.
want to learn to dance with your urges. You know what I mean? Like, you have an ego for a reason. You're a human being in a human body, and you want things. And you can use all of that energy of the things you want to power your life. It's just that you have to tend the garden. You can't let it get all weeds, right?
Yeah.
But you have to. So it's a downward meditation, and we concentrate on our heartbeat. So the practical version of that is that we, over time, train ourselves to feel our pulse in any type part of our body and our heartbeat. And instead of counting breaths, we actually count our heartbeats. And you start by counting, feeling it from the outside. So, like, here's a lovely position where you can put this hand goes over the pulse spot in the wrist,
Mm.
and you can just count
So where do you put so the pulse spot goes over your heart,
the let's see,
or
your one hand goes over the heart,
one hand goes over the heart?
and the other hand goes wraps around the wrist and finds the pulse spot.
Yeah, got it. Got it.
And we have an app, hasn't been released yet. We're working on it, so you can just put your
Ooh.
finger over the camera and like look at the screen and like breathe in, breathe out.
Okay.
Wax on, wax off. So you just putting your hand on your heart changes your physiology. So like if you're having a difficult conversation with
Mm.
somebody you care about, and you put your hand on your heart, other scientists have done studies that it's going to come out better
Yeah.
just by putting your hand on your heart.
Yes, I've experienced that before too, like the putting hand on the heart. Like,
Yeah,
I just do it subconsciously. I'm not even thinking about it, but it's like a soothing mechanism.
absolutely. So like
Yeah.
in the beginning stages, it's your actual hand. When you get good at it, I like put my hands on my lap because it's easier. But
Yeah.
like my energetic hand, my pretend
Mm.
hand is on my
Yeah.
heart, So yeah. So so this is a way, instead of trying to get out of your life and your body to experience heaven, we want to bring heaven downward and
Ooh.
infuse it in our bodies and in the lives of the people around us. So like we want to bring the juice down into our bodies and into our lives, into our minds, and go forth and do all the things.
It feels like a more like you're like a connecting kind of experience, like to bring like everything kind of like it feel like, you're bringing everything into you rather than a more emptying kind of experience where you're like, clearing your mind and all of that. That's so cool. Okay, do you want to do like a quick like 5 minute?
Yeah, let's do five
Oh,
minutes.
yay. Awesome.
Mhm. So this is Robin Goldberg. I'm leading a heart rhythm meditation. And go ahead and put one hand over your heart. And then let's say try put your right hand over your heart and put your left hand anywhere where it's easy for you to feel your pulse. And the first part of the meditation is just to notice, are you inhaling or are you exhaling? Feeling your hand on your heart, feeling your pulse, feeling, for me, I have my shoes off so I can feel my feet on the floor, Feeling my spine nice and straight. You can straighten up your spine if you'd like to. We think of the spine as like an antenna between heaven and earth, making ourselves into antennas so we can bring the energy, all the spiritual energy, however you think of the spiritual side of things, right down through your spine. You might even feel the sit bones, the part of the bony part of your butt against the chair, and feeling your heart. And right this minute, I'm feeling my heart, the physical heart, because I can feel it beating. And I'm feeling the energetic heart, which is like, we call it the heart field. So like pound per pound, your heart makes more of a magnetic field than the earth itself. That steady rhythm creates magnetism. And the electrical field around you is an important part of yourself. They'll say, I just really love her energy. We're sort of creating an beyond, we put our clothes on to create like an impression in the world. And that's almost like a child playing with a doll. Because beyond our clothes, we're actually creating like a magnetic field all the time when we walk through the world. And other people are reading that magnetic field. And you have to ask yourself, like, am I creating love and caring and connection wherever I go? Or am I, creating stress and disharmony, fear wherever I go? Like, what's my energy clothing that I'm wearing? And you keep breathing in and out. Keep feeling for your heartbeat or your pulse. And then keep sort of noticing your body. I have a body. And if you can particularly feel the area around your body, like the edge, where's my edge? Where do I actually start and stop? And if you happen to be feeling your pulse or your heartbeat really strong right now, go ahead and use it as like a timer and kind of count how many breaths how long is my inhale? How long is my exhale? Most people do find that either their inhale habitually is longer or their exhale habitually is longer. And that is a nice little hint to how you're showing up in the world. Thank you very much for breathing along with me, Lucy. I very much like being in your field.
Thank you. That was really, thank you so much, Robin. I'm gonna I think I'll take that clip out and then put it as a separate, like a little separate meditation recording for people.
Yep.
And
Yes.
I think that's really that I need to take I love what you said about energetic clothing. I've never heard of that before.
Me
What's so
neither.
It just came out of you. That's so cool. I what I love about the term energetic clothing is that it's something you can change and shift.
Yes.
Like just like clothes, they're not stuck to you. You can put on new clothes if you want to. So that's why I love that so much.
All right, but put if you do the little clip, put this
Mhm.
part in the clip that this is Heart Rhythm Meditation created by Paran Bear and Susanna Bear. And you can learn a whole lot more about it at their website at iamheart.org. IAM, the word heart.org.
Heart.org.
And they offer classes, they offer programs, they have a lot of free resources. And I do a Tuesday night class over Zoom at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So anybody all who are hungry, come and eat. That's
Yes. So that's I will and I will include that in the show notes for all of our listener. The links and all of that. And so this is iamheart.org.
yes,
And yeah, and Robin, if you want to do this with Robin, she teaches at Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Yes. Thank you so much for doing that, Robin. And yeah. Also, I'm definitely more of a. You said something about the inhale, exhale. I exhale much longer than my inhales. Do they say like, is there like a symbolism behind that or anything?
Symbolism behind that. It's
Yeah.
because it's the energetic suit that you typically wear.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's going to be reacting to you in that way. And it's also like, if you could look in the when you look in the mirror and you think your sense of who am I, like that's your habit of that has to do with like the weeds that grow in your garden. If you don't tend it, like that's going to be your kind of, and it could be that this is just a one-off and that other times it'll be different. But
Mm-hmm.
people who check in with themselves periodically a lot typically will find that, like, yep, that's the way I usually roll. So just like in a martial arts, you don't want to necessarily spend a lot of time with your weight all on one leg.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have a balanced posture so that if life hands you something over here, you can move this way. And if life hands you something over there, you can move that way. Or if something comes towards you, if you start with a balanced posture,
Right.
you can shift and use the inhale powers or the exhale powers as needed through
Yeah.
life. And that's sort of like the discernment that grows. Like, is this, I get a phone call from somebody I care about and they're like, well, I'm going to go do this.
Yeah.
Is it like, do I pull out the drawer of, oh, don't do that, here's the 27 things, or if you do that, bring along blah 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 blah, or do
Yeah.
I open up the drawer of, I'll just wait this out and see what happens,
Yes. Yeah. That is there any, that's so funny. Yeah, I feel like I have both the water and the fire, I think, in me a lot of times. Or maybe, yeah, which is like I have all these ideas and thoughts and like all the time. And then once in a while I'm like, I just gotta do one of these, and then I'll just pick one, but like and then like go and take action and but not really think things through necessarily all the time.
Well, that's why
That's
when I have a meditation, a longer meditation, that once you learn the breaths that
mm,
correlate to each of these four types,
mm-hmm.
you can go right through from air for generating ideas, because there are a lot
Huh?
of people that have trouble generating ideas. So you just generate a whole bunch of brain dump.
Yeah.
And then fire, like what aligns with my heart, with my heart's values. What
Yes.
what is there does it align with what that might be a great thing to do, but is it my thing to do? Does
That's a
it
very
really,
important question.
like, does it create motivation, like a fire in the belly? Well, a little higher up.
Yeah.
And then how can I involve other people? Does this serve the needs of people? What other people are there who are gonna come with me on my journey?
Mhm.
And then how could I manifest it? How could I make it a reality? Is it a good idea? Is it good for the planet?
Oh, that's a very great dot connection that you just did with all four parts. Um, so is this related to the different, like the breathing patterns? So like
Yeah.
that's okay. Got it. So I'm assuming the book talks more about like
This book is
the
all
breathing.
about the breathing
It's
patterns.
all about breathing patterns. Got it. Yeah.
And this this other book is more, one of their third book is more, it's called Follow Your Heart. And it's the map of
Mhm.
illumination. And it talks about how any project, any person is going to go through these steps.
Mm.
So like there's the sort of default level where you're not tending your garden. The weeds of your energy are just growing all by themselves. Nobody's curating anything. It's just like, when I see a situation, I run into it. Or when I
Yeah.
see a situation, I run the other way. Like these are like our default patterns. And over time, I don't even know that there's a good picture of it, but over time, there's this winding, twisting journey so that you can get from like a like it's adult development. So like you can respond to things in a very reactive way, and then you can get to the point where you respond to things in like the most balanced way, like you're using your inhale or your exhale as needed, using your fire or your earth as needed. Like
Right.
you have some sense of confidence in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I like this. So like the central themes I'm hearing is like it's balance. It's like working. It's like balance and flow almost of like different parts. And then you mentioned confidence in yourself, and it's like I feel like that happens, right? That makes sense because if like there's the different parts are working together, not like all over the place or competing with each other or something, right? Yes, that makes sense that you show up with more confidence. That yes, they're all together. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, for me, the last, I guess, year, the word integrity, not,
Integrity.
I used to think of it as a very like intellectual things. Like I'm not going to do something that's out of integrity with my beliefs. Like
I love
that's
that.
how I had
Yeah.
integrity for like most of my life. And that's a good thing to have. But
Hmm.
like this other layer of my body is integrated. Like my
Yes.
choices that I make regarding my own self are also in alignment with my values, and like all the parts, all the elements, all the tendencies, all the weeds growing in the garden, like are now, like they're now tended.
The way you talk about it, it's like you're saying there's a whole world inside of us, inside our bodies. Like there's a world out there, but then there's also like this world in here. I
Indeed.
love it.
Yeah.
I'm very curious, Robin. So you mentioned you were a dentist. So like how did you stumble upon or get into meditation and all the spiritual stuff? Like how did that happen?
Yeah. So I've always been interested in like personal development,
Hmm.
and I've always been interested in a just world, having a world that like the forces of oppression. I could see from the community I grew up in, like very good-hearted people who were very stressed out, very like the ways in which sexism, racism, classism, looksism, all those isms that are being floated towards us are having an effect on real human beings.
Hmm.
And from a very young age, I just knew that wasn't right. And in a sense, being a dentist came out of that. I wanted to do something. Like my parents were very into like go to college, get a professional degree, make sure you can take care of yourself at the level. My dad would joke at which I plan to become accustomed, right? Like
Okay.
make sure you're financially taken care of. And
Yes.
so like, and whenever I would waver about being a dentist, it looked like something that I'd be able to do and do well. But I knew I could help people with my own two hands.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew that I had other qualities, like I'm full of good ideas. Maybe I should go into advertising and like create ad campaigns because I love communicating and coming up with new frames for things. But I couldn't do that because I didn't think that there was no model for how that could be done with any kind of integrity. It was just like, oh, become part of the capitalist machinery. And at the time, that was like all I knew.
Yeah.
So, but being a dentist, I knew there was something that could involve the science part and the people part and my
Yeah.
own hands. I could heal people to a certain extent, like one after another. And I knew that that would work for me.
Yeah.
So,
It sounds like working with your two hands was something that
my
sparked
own
joy.
hands,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. So yeah, so I kind of had a sense of the kind of person I was like before, and then my parents came through with like, we think you should be a dentist. It's a, go, like, we're gonna like help you explore it and help you make that happen. And I'm just very grateful for them for doing
Yeah.
that. Um, so so like when I was in my 20s, when I went off to college and I started reading feminist things, and then I bumped into some people who were doing reevaluation counseling, which was just this wonderful peer counseling where you listen and you get a chance to be emotional, taking turns so that each person could heal each other person. It was just a very beautiful vision, and that was going to end racism, and
Yeah.
it was going to end like the destruction of the environment, that we were going to act better instead of just screaming at our kids. We'd like be able to sink in and say, well, what's behind what's bothering me? What's the five, that like a really, those five whys really quickly. What is this? We would just say, what does this remind you of?
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't tell you, when my son was little, you go to the park and almost like every 6 months, some child wanders off.
Okay.
The mom goes ballistic, as
Yeah.
any mom would. Why not? The baby comes back, toddling on back, like, like, like I ate a pine cone, like everything's great. Feeling like
Yeah.
really proud of themselves for having the nerve to wander out of sight. And
Yes.
the mom screams and like rips him a new, or we say asshole in this podcast?
Yes,
I don't know.
yes, that is what we say. Rip them a new asshole. Yeah,
Rip him a new asshole.
you're
And
very
I'm like,
current with the lingo.
oh yeah. And yeah, so and I'm like holding my hands over my son's ears, like I don't see how that mommy is treating that baby, like, and but actually what I did was I would be like, that mommy is really scared right now, and she doesn't know how she's acting. That mommy loves her baby, but
Yes.
she's just so scared um, that she's not herself right now.
Right.
So co-counseling, and that's rc.org. It's a wonderful, wonderful program that like anybody who feels like they want to spend time like listening to people and being listened to, can learn some basics and have heartfelt conversation. Like it trains you to have a heartfelt conversation with yourself and with other people. So that's also a really good thing for the show notes,
What
rc.org.
what is this co-counseling with
Yeah,
RC.org?
the vernacular, what people call it, is co-counseling, and reevaluation counseling is the formal name. So hence rc.org, and
Ah, got it.
it's a
Yes, I'll
wonderful
include
bunch of
that.
people who they want to link your own personal development to the ending of the oppressions and
Right.
making the world making things right in the world, which there was a lot of what they used to call navel gazing when I was in my 20s. And I was like, no, 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 not for me. Because it's not like if you're not bringing it back towards making at least attempts to like have something like, not just your life should be good, your life should be good, but like, what about everything else? Like,
Mm.
it's not enough just for your life to be better. Like, you know what I mean? I want everybody's life to be better.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and so it sounds like
Oh
you
yeah, there was
always
a
had
question in
this.
there. Yeah,
Yeah, the
always.
question was how as a dentist did you discover this, but it sounds like you always had this kind of drive, this push to like connect with people and figure out how you can better
Yeah,
better whatever the sphere of, that you are in, right?
yeah, absolutely. And so I did co-counseling for a while,
Mhm.
and for like many years, and then things didn't start to be. It was starting to not be such a good fit for me anymore.
Hmm.
And when my son turned 13, and like he was just miserable and having like temper tantrums like every day, and all like my parenting, like he'd been such a cute little baby, and like now he's a drooling teenager, like oh my god, and things were getting very like heated. And so I came to Heart Rhythm Meditation through the work of Howard Glasser,
Mhm.
and he has a bunch of books that one is called Transforming the Intense Child. And
Okay.
he talks about your energetic clothing. He doesn't use that phrase, but he talks about how the energy that you bring to the table has an effect on the energy of all the people around you. And he talks about ways you can sort of fake it till you make it to create a better suit of clothing to wear, an energetic suit of clothing that's more aligned with who you are. But he says, okay, I can teach you all the fake it till you make it stuff, and it'll work. But
Mhm.
if you want to do the shortcut, learn how to meditate and let Paran
Mm.
and Susanna Bear teach you how to meditate with heart rhythm meditation. So, so when my son was 13 and he's having these tantrums, every time he'd have a tantrum, this is not the recommended way, but I would be like, oh, honey, I forgot I was supposed to meditate today. I'm right here. Because when he was little, I could never do that. Go to your room. You're having a timeout. Your
Yeah.
behavior is. So because I couldn't do that, when his behavior, like a little squall would turn into a giant squall, there was no way, there was not enough earth in the situation to kind of ground him.
Right.
Um, there was just like all my air whipping him up. Like, no, darling. So I would say, I get it that you're having a hard time right now. I'm not going anywhere. You don't have to go anywhere. But I also remember that I forgot to meditate today.
Mhm.
And in one of the books, Howard Glasser gave like a bare bones, like count your heartbeats in, match them to your heartbeats out. And I went ahead and I would do it for as long as the tantrum lasted.
Hmm.
And it kept me from what we call pouring oil on the fire of my son's tantrum.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, if you, if you, even when you watch a movie, like if the character is going through something really intense and emotional, your heart rate speeds up. You might start to
Yes.
sweat. All your physiology changes. And when you're parenting a 13-year-old boy who's having a temper tantrum, my fears would come right up. And of course, I would try to I like, we are from France, like everything's fine on the outside, but my son is reading my energy field. He's reading my increased pulse rate. He's reading
Mhm.
my sweating. I'm terrified on the inside, and I'm not facing it. I'm not being upfront about it. I'm just like, hang on, hang on, hang on, hang on. Don't scream at him. Like,
Yes.
be kind, be kind, be kind. So, so once I started meditating during his tantrums, he started having fewer tantrums, and he eventually, became a very upstanding human being. He's a wonderful
Uh,
guy. He's just
yeah.
delightful. He figured himself out, and a lot of it is not to my credit. He just is this amazing human being. Um, and Yeah, so at that point, I got a chance to go and meet some heart rhythm meditation people up in
Mm.
Boston. I drove up from Connecticut, and the more I heard, the more I thought, like, this is what resonates with me.
Yeah.
Um,
I this is, by the way, we just I didn't expect this, but we just got a parenting kind of deep dive into what it's like to be a parent and how to get through some of the adolescent tantrum parts. So I love that. And I find that it's so you found you stumbled on heart rhythm meditation because you were trying to figure out, how do I deal with this tantrum thing? I don't want it to turn me into a person that I'm not, right? Like you were talking about the fear mom,
yeah.
who was in so much fear that she lashed out in a way that that may or may not have been what she wanted to do. And I love that it was you were aware, I think, right, of that, and you're like, okay, what can I do, because I don't want to be this type of and um living in integrity with who I am, right? It's like there's a certain person I want to be, and I don't want to turn into the not person. um and I think that's super important, and really hard to do. Let me just say that I'm very excited and also nervous about becoming a parent, because I'm just like, oh, this is going to test my integrity. I know it will. Um, eh,
Oh, let me put another link in the show notes. One
yeah.
of the counseling resources is this woman, Patty Whiffler. Whiffler. Patty
And
Whiffler. And she has a book called Listen. And it's on Audible, and you can hear her voice. And it
mhm.
is amazing. And one of the things the reason I thought of her just now is that she would just assure you that you're going to screw it up, honey. It's going to come into balance and out of balance. And
Mhm.
that is the essence of what's wonderful about parenting, is that you'll do the absolute best you can, and you'll look back and be like, oh yeah, I got to do better. And you will, that's how you grow too. Like,
Mhm.
what do you call it? Learning through living,
Yeah, learning through living.
yeah.
It's the life. I find that as I'm talking with you and also with a bunch of people in my own experience, is that the most important lessons that we learn came through dealing with some experience that
Yes.
we didn't want, but it was there to teach us something, if we decide to accept it as a learning
Yes.
experience.
Yes. I'm laughing. It's like, yes, absolutely. And when I got into my meditation school, like, that was very much my MO, is like, I'm going to go out in the world, I'm going to experience stuff, and I'm going to find out
Yes.
more about myself, and I'm going to get the skills that I've needed to handle this situation. And at
Yeah.
some point with this book, this follow your heart book,
Follow your heart.
you're like, darling, darling, we love you. Right? We love you, but
Yeah.
you don't need to go through that whole giant mess,
Yeah.
in order to keep growing. At this point, you've gotten to the point where you're smart enough, you've learned enough, you have enough skills. You're going out and creating messes intentionally, so that in the service of trying to grow. There's a certain point on the path where meditation, you can have the challenges in your meditation time.
Yes.
And you can have the experiences that you need to have to keep growing in your meditation time.
Mm.
And that's like, wow.
Ooh.
And then it was like, no, I don't think so. I'm going to go out in the world and create some more messes. Um, but over time,
Yes.
I would say I'm like 60-40, like 60%, maybe
Yeah.
70-30, like 70%. I'll use my meditation time to like get to those new levels of perspective and to
Mm-hmm.
integrate the new information. And like 30%, like I'll join Badass Body Boss and I'll watch the
Yeah.
videos and I'll do the things and I'll figure out, like with your help, like some habits, like what are
Yeah.
some habits? I'm going to sleep better. I'm going to drink more water. I'm going to eat more protein. Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, like all the things that I thought were like me specific and like, because I'm broken, because I'm a bad girl, like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I could work in harmony with my body. Like, it's not like they're holding like a gun to my neck, like, you better eat or
Yeah.
else I'm going to get you. Like, and it's not like
Yes.
me holding a gun to my body's head saying,
Yes.
you better perform because my
Yeah.
body says we have things to do. Like,
Yes. Yes. And your body, as you know, probably in your work too, right? Your body has a lot of, they say your body holds a lot of wisdom, right? It knows a lot of things that we don't know. I mean, it has to, otherwise we'd be really overwhelmed.
yes,
Like
yes.
a lot of time, like a common thing that shows up is like when people get super stressed, they beat themselves up so much because they have cravings. And I'm like, your body is doing exactly what it needs to do to ensure your survival, right? Like at least, historically, that's why we've evolved this route. It's revving up your cravings because it wants you to have energy. And the body doesn't have a way to say how much energy it wants you to have. It just has an off on switch.
Right, right,
But it's
right.
like, okay, but it's like even though I don't want to have cravings, knowing that it's my body just trying to help give me energy because it's like very, very protective of me, it makes it less of a scary thing, right? It's still uncomfortable, but it's like less of a big giant monster. It's like
Right. It gives you some, like, I mean, we're sort of not really living in the day and age where most people are really skillful at listening to the cues that their body puts off, because it's not like they're
yeah.
going to send me an instant. Let's put it this way: if we could work it out that my body could send me a text message in great detail, hey darling, you didn't get enough sleep last night, so either we'll spend a lot of time in the kitchen eating or you can go take a nap, you pick
Yeah.
it. Like, until we can get an app for that, where like,
Yes.
remember like the dog bark collar,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. When the dog talks to you and
the dog talks like
yeah.
and like you can finally understand what your dog is thinking, and you're a little disappointed in what it's thinking, but I
Yeah.
need like the body bark collar where like it could like explain like the various things
Yes.
that's going on. And meditation has been helpful, this heart rhythm meditation. Like once you start paying attention, I've my
Mm.
um my teacher Paran, this guy, said that when he started meditating, he was so shut down and disconnected from his body that he
Yeah.
wouldn't know he was angry until he could notice that his breathing had changed.
That's so cool. It's like you notice your body triggers and then you're like, "Ah, I guess I must be." I think from my personal experience, I a lot of times I don't notice like I'm tired or I'm feeling angry or scared. Like I can tell if I'm feeling bad sometimes, but I can't differentiate it a lot of times. But lately I've noticed like my chest tightens when I'm feeling stressed.
Yep.
So now whenever I feel that sensation, I'm like, "Oh wait, am I stressed right now?" Like and it's really funny because it's like your body knows first before your brain knows.
Yep. And
I
and
totally experienced that. Yeah, yeah.
and it's, again, it's not, that's not necessarily for everybody, but for
Yeah.
like your high achievers,
Yes.
like people whose parents figured out how to convince them that they knew more
Yeah.
than we did, like like your high achiever, like, I don't know if I could use the word people pleaser for myself. I don't think anyone who knows me would think
Yeah.
that's true, but like, people who are oriented towards the people
Yeah.
around them and like tuned into like, oh, I better not do that.
Yeah.
um you might be more aware of what someone else is feeling
Yeah.
than what you're feeling.
Yes. Actually, I think I need a better word than people pleaser. So what Robin's referring to for my viewers is I have this tagline on my site that says I help high achievers and people pleasers, blah blah blah. But I think I need to change that word because like high achievers like the word high, like yes, I'm a high achiever. Like there's pride in that. Nobody takes pride in being a people pleaser, right? So I'm just like, okay, maybe because you said something, I think you said empathy. So I'm like, maybe like highly empathetic or something like that. Because
Yeah.
that's a word that people take pride in.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
thank you for that, Robin.
Yeah. And what I used to call myself way back in the day was I'm the boundaryless wonder.
The boundaryless wonder. What does that mean? Can you
What does that mean? Like that's
describe it?
like because I noticed I was paying more attention to other people's feelings and ignoring and turning off the information from my own body and my own
Ah, oh,
feelings.
I
That I
see.
was, and I would also be more interested in what other
Yeah.
people were going through, and like not so interested in the challenges that I was facing. I'd be like, I'm just going
Yeah.
to put one foot in front of the other, and I'm just going to do the next thing. And like, I might like it, I might not like it, but I have to do it anyway.
Yeah.
So, like in some ways, like where is your attention tuned to? Is there a way? And again, because having a regular meditation practice has expanded my awareness, so
Mhm.
now there's room to pay attention to what am I feeling? What are you feeling?
Yes, I like that. It creates room to actually pay attention. It see and helps you see reality, I think, better. Like when you're
I think so. Yeah,
not in survival mode and you're aware.
yeah. Not survival
Yeah.
is a big, wonderful thing.
Yes. Oh, thank you, Robin. This has been a pleasure. I want to just end with just some like just getting to know Robin kind of questions as I tend to do on these podcasts. So the first one is, what do you wish more people would know about you that you don't often get to share?
I'm nothing, nothing, darling.
Yeah, you spew everything about.
I spew everything, and
Ah,
the biggest thing I want people to know about me is that I care so
mm,
deeply. Like it really matters to me how someone else is. It
mhm,
just does. And it's again like from my childhood training of keeping an eye on mommy. Like is mommy like
yeah.
my mom would say about it, I had four kids under the age of 6. You think that's easy? Like
Yes.
and I was like, I gotta keep an eye on you, darling.
Yeah, you were also the sister of all the other
I'm big
kids, right?
sister of all the other kids. So
Totally.
it's like my job is to keep an eye on you. And I'm like, you gonna
Yeah.
be okay now? Oh, let's go do something else.
Yes.
And that was my role in the family. But what's beautiful about it is that there's the part that resonates with who I really am, which
Mhm.
is I do I do actually care about how it's all going, the group. And my sense of the group
Mm,
is actually pretty wide, pretty wide. It matters to me. So,
yeah.
and that's something that luckily people have picked up on. And, it's now like being represented in my energy suit.
I think
And
it is. Yeah.
yeah, I'm very happy about that. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yes, no, I definitely pick that up with you in the way you show up for our Badass Body Boss community members too. Like I I am so grateful for you, Robin, for your participation. I think that a lot of people are motivated by like the things you say, and um like I think like just the other day we had a participant on the call who was just like, it's always happy, it's always great to see Robin laugh, you know. It's like the vibe just kind of like it's contagious also, right? So love that, love that. um any experiments you're currently trying right now or questions that you're exploring?
Um, so right now I'm having this amazing earth phase where just getting into my body, bulletproofing,
Yeah.
I did 12 weeks of the knees over toes guy zero program. A couple of months, I finished that up in January of doing like a lot of ankle mobility, knee mobility, hip mobility, and strengthening of all the muscles that go there.
Awesome.
So he's a very out of the box thinker. He's the one who says, like, we all train so we can jump higher and run faster, but nobody trains how are you going to land?
Oh my god. Yes. That's
So
You
you
guys
know,
mesh really well, I feel.
yeah,
You
there's a
guys would
good,
mesh really well.
yeah, like he's like, well, also he gave me permission. My son brought this over. He's like, Mom, this is going to solve everything. Like, you got to just try this. And I was like, okay, whatever you say, darling. And so we walked down the street. I have a one-way street on my block, and we walked down the middle of the street backwards, like chatting. And like
Yeah.
just the idea of walking backwards where you can't really see what's behind you
Huh.
puts you in your body, because your feet have a lot of information. Well, I skipped the whole like Katie Bowman, minimalist shoes, move your DNA. Like, she's
Okay.
amazing. She's another out of the box thinker that I just love.
Hmm.
So I got myself all flat shoes with like no heels and kind of thin soles so
Hmm.
that I can feel the earth. And I love it. I'm just like, again, like, this is where my ego is leading me towards, like, feel the earth, feel
Hmm.
your body, have a strong, healthy body. I've got a chinning bar like down the hall, and I walk by and I hang for a second. Like,
Oh,
like, I
yeah.
don't ever think of myself as an athlete or a jock, but I'm really, since the pandemic slowed down, I've really been able to funnel a lot of attention into how does my body move, and
Yes.
what kind of body do I want, and how do you do that? And
Yeah.
it's been great. So it's feeling like more athletic.
Yes.
Um,
Love it. Love it. And you are getting, it sounds like you're getting stronger too. And I'm glad you're enjoying your training and all that. And I love that you're putting like these, like you have a pull-up bar, like that you're just hanging on, like just in your environment. That's so cool. And also it made me smile that you said you were doing this, the walking backwards thing or whatever with your son. And I'm like, you guys are actually really close. It's adorable. Cause like you said your son's like 25 years old, right? Like, and I think in our private, like we had a conversation where you said like he sent you like this really sweet card, and I'm like, oh
oh
my god,
yeah.
I
So,
want my future child to have that relationship with me. It's like this is so. I don't hear about this kind of relationship between son and mother very often, so I'm like, it
yeah,
just makes me smile so much when you talk about it. Yeah.
yeah. I would have to say that the feedback I'm getting from the world, like, because I have friends of all different ages, and generally my friends who are on the younger side, like when they send me a birthday card or talk about me to somebody
Yeah.
else, they say, "This is my wise friend, Robin," and I'm like,
Wise
"Oh,
friend. Aw.
I didn't even know that's all I ever wanted." But like, yeah,
Ah,
I mean, like, I can picture a friend of mine in my head. He's saying, "Well, if somebody says they're that, then you know they're not that." But like,
yeah. No, well, no,
I know, okay, I apologize for that end of it, but like, that's what it's the feedback I'm getting. And
it is.
I got it in my son's birthday card. He like, I love
Yeah.
you. Thanks for being such a wonderful mom. Thanks for, we feel close. You've inspired me so many ways. Um,
Aw.
and one of the phrases he threw in there was wise friend. And I'm like,
Aw.
I'm getting it for my son. I think I could just say it out loud on YouTube. It's all right.
Yes, wise friend. You are a wise friend.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this, Robin. Thank you so much. This has been a very like delicious, I think, conversation. And before we end, where can our audience find you? You mentioned iamheart.org, and then you teach there
Yeah.
Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
Um, is that the best
Yeah, I
place
think the best
to
place,
reach?
iamheart.org, and they have like office staff,
Hmm.
and you can call the phone number and they'll get you in touch with me. Through them, I do work as a meditation mentor, which means like a kind of like a life coach, but you meet
Yes.
once a month and you figure out how to meditate and how to use that meditation to get you where you want to go, because this is the attachment school. So, like, what is it? And even if the thing you want is something that I think is like, no, you shouldn't want that. Six pack abs. No, no, no. Like,
Yes.
that is not where we go with it. You know what I mean? Like, because like, if a different style of meditation is like, no, just detach. Don't care if you have six pack abs. Like, no, no, no. Our school of meditation is you must want it for a reason.
Yes.
There's
What
an
is that reason?
element, one of these earth, air, fire, water elements is coming to the fore. So like, let's be the best six pack ab person that you can possibly be. And like, let's learn a ton of shit along the way.
Yeah.
And like, get, you're going to eventually, your heart is going to know what you need to be doing. And your thing, my thing is not right for you, and your thing is not right for me. So like, you could be in a completely different, you know, your path in life should be different from mine. What would be the point if, like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
as a meditation mentor, like, I can work with people once a week. As a coach, I can work with people. I'm sorry, mentoring is once a month. Coaching is more of like a once a week thing. And you can reach me and let them know that that you're interested in working with Robin Goldberg, and they'll get us in touch with each other. And if,
Excellent.
yeah, so
Awesome. This is great, and I will include all of this and Robin, how you can get to Robin in the show notes below.
thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Robin. If you enjoyed this discussion, please like this video and subscribe. And check out my show notes below for where to find my podcast, my weekly newsletter, work with me one-on-one, and just how to reach me in general. Thank you, and I appreciate you.